Hey, what is up guys? Code here, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a character move. Now this is of course useful for video games because you need to have a moving player, unless it's a weird kind of video game like, I don't know. But anyways, now what I'm going to tell you is this is really important. If you do this without Python, so if you do this without coding, your movement will look like crap. So I'm going to teach you how to do it with Python, and I guess for those of you that really don't want to learn how to code in Python and Blender, which is the easiest thing, then I guess I'll just make another video for that. But I'm warning you that it will look bad. So let's just get started then. Okay? So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go, you're going to actually want to go to your Google Chrome, and don't look at that stuff. Okay, so you want to go to your Google Chrome or whatever internet browser you use, and let's just go to python.org. Okay, and you don't have to download this. You can do it in the game, actually. I mean, in Blender. You don't have to download this, but this just makes it so that you could type out one script and then use it in other games that you want to make. So you just go to downloads, and then you just download whatever you need, and then some goofy stuff will pop up, and when that's done, don't, like, if you like putting stuff to your taskbar, don't open this one. Go to go into your search bar. If you're using Windows 8, just press your Windows and C button and type in idle. And this one right here, right click it, and then mine says unpin because it's already there, but then pin that one. Only pin idle to your taskbar because that's what we're going to be using. So first thing we're going to want to do is go from Blender Render to Blender Game, and from default to Game Logic. Like I said, you don't have to download that, but it makes it easier. So this is our game, right? And this is where we could type in the Python, or we can go to text and then open up a text block, and we can open up wherever our scripts are. So let's just write that script. You could write it in here, or you can follow along with me in idle. So I'm just going to open it up. Okay. And I'm going to go to File and New File. So we're going to need, we're not going to need this one, so you can just close out of that. Because that was just a console, so that tells you data about your script. This is where we actually write the script. And if you're just going to be doing it on Blender, go to Templates, Python, then come up here to Game Logic Simple, and delete right here. Delete this section right here. Okay. So since we're doing it in idle, or yes, that's what I'm doing. What we're going to do is we're going to write this out. Okay. Well, first let's save it. So go to File, Save. And I'm going to save mine to my desktop, and I'm going to make a new folder. I'm going to call this Python scripts. Okay. And let's just call this player action. And make sure it's a .py. So .py stands for Python. And then save that. Okay. So now we can go to, well, let's not do that yet. Let's just write what's in here, okay? So first we have to import BGE. Now, we're writing this in here, so just type import BGE. Let me explain this. Okay, so what we're doing is, when we're importing BGE, pretty much what we're saying is that we're going to take things, BGE stands for Blender Game Engine, so we're going to be able to take things from the Blender Game Engine and use them like BGE.logic. So we're going to go into BGE and get its logic, and then from the logic we're going to get that's current controller. So that's what import means. It pretty much says we're going to be able to take things from it. Okay. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when I write, when I'm writing, I have another playlist that explains how to use Python in Blender. So first we're going to type in def, which means define. So we're going to be defining a function, meaning we're going to be making a function. And you can call it main. That's what most people call it. You don't have to call it main. But as long as this is the same, you're good. Just most people call it main because it makes more sense. So we're just going to type in main, and then these two parentheses are called parameters, or not parameters. They're called well, they're called parentheses. What goes inside them is called parameters, and we're not going to be using that for our main function. So then add a colon because it's the end of like definition. This colon means that we're going to be writing. Okay, so when you write a colon after something, it means that you're going to be making this inside of this indent scale right here. So like we can't go back here. We can't go right here and start typing our main function because it won't work. It'll give us an error because it won't think it's part of the function. So make sure that you go after you type in this colon, press enter. Okay, and stay on that indent scale. Okay, and so the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be writing. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to describe this cont, and let me explain to you what this means. Okay, so what this is this is just going to be the name of a variable. So this is a variable right here, and this is just the name of it. We could name this Fred or anything we want, but the game just decided to call it cont, and that's what we're going to call it because it's pretty simple. And we're going to say cont is equal to, so BGE, so Blender Game Engine's logic, so we're getting into the game logic of it, and then we're going to get the current controller of, okay, so the current controller is this like control panel. It's not this right here, it's well, it is it's the Python controller, and whatever the Python controller, see right here where we go into controller and then Python. Well, this is a Python controller, so it's getting this controller right here, and it's anything that's connected to it is what this is for. Okay, so like cont.sensors, so we're going to be looking to the Python and we're going to see what sensors it's connected to. So that's what that is. And the owned is what object it's in. So right now we have our cube selected, so let's just go into our cube and name him player. Okay, so we have our cube selected and we've named it player. So right now the Python script is inside the player, so own is cont.owner, so it's this Python controller's owner, which is the player. So that's what that means. So let's write that out. So cont is going to be equal to the Blender Game Engine's logic, so bge.logic.get current controller. And now make sure that because all code is cap sensitive. Any code you write will be cap sensitive. So make sure those C's are capitalized. And then add those two parentheses because it is a function. That's what the parentheses are for, functions. And then we're going to say own. That's going to be the name of the variable. Again, you can name it whatever you want. You can name it player. You can name it Fred or whatever. But since some people are not going to be using idle, I'm going to just type own is going to be equal to cont.owner. Okay, so the controller's owner. So after that, we need to call it. So right here, this where it says main, a lot of people, I used to think of it as the ending of a function, but it's not even close. This, we could write anything we want right here, and that would still, well, obviously that would ruin the code, but like we could write like code stuff over this, and we could have this all the way down on line like 74 or something. All this is it's calling. It's not closing, it's just calling. You'll know when a function closes when you're writing back on this indent scale right here. So that's how you know when the function is over, is when I start writing more code right here. Okay, so this is just calling it, and what that means is like we're telling it we're telling Blender to we're telling the script, sorry, to do this, to do whatever this is, which is going to be whatever we put in here. So if you put like if do this, if this happens, then do that. That's what we're telling main to do. And this is we're telling main to activate itself. So we're like not activate itself, but we're telling the script to activate the main function. That's what this is right here. Okay, and let's just write that out then. So main, and then 2 parentheses. Okay, so if you guys are following along, that's great. Make sure that you write what's in this right here. So I'm just gonna like bring this up now. Okay, so follow along with me in whatever you're using, and we're gonna say if, because that's what an if statement is. It's just if. So first, actually, let's delete that and make our keyboard function, because in order for us to move our player around, we're gonna need to use the keys, right? Okay, so let's say keyboard. So that's the name of our variable. It's gonna be BGE.logic.keyboard, and that's it. That's it. Okay, and then let's say if BGE dot logic dot 1 second, guys. Okay, so it's BGE dot logic dot capital KX underscore capital sensor. Make sure you spell sensor right, and then underscore active. So what this is saying is we're going into the logic. We're going to the Blender Game Engine's logic, and we're going to see if the KX sensor is active. And if it's active, we're going to see what it's equal to. So when you're saying if something's equal to, you use 2 equal signs. So 1 is when you're assigning it something. So if you were to say like number is equal to 1, you'd use 1 equal sign because you're assigning it a variable. So if you're checking to see if it is equal to 1, you use 2 equal signs. So if it is equal to, and this is where we go to 1 second. Okay, so we're gonna say if it's equal to the keyboard. So that's what we defined up here. So keyboard dot events. Okay, and then in here we're gonna say BGE dot events. Okay, and then we're gonna add 2 brackets, or not 2 brackets, sorry. Dot W key. Now I'll show you what this is. I have a form for it right here. So it looks like this. Yeah. Oh, 1 second. I accidentally put round brackets. These are supposed to be square brackets because we're looking in a list of events. Okay. So I could explain lists. What a list is kind of like, or an array. An array. So it's an array. The keyboard.events is a kind of array, and it has just a bunch of different kinds of stuff in it, and this is one of the stuffs. So if this happens and it's equal to this stuff, then it's going to do something. Okay, so obviously W key is our W key. So we're looking at the keyboard events, and if it's equal to the Blender Game Engine's events W key, so if we're pressing down the W key, then we're going to add this colon right here again, because like I said before, when we add a colon, we're going to be telling you to do something inside there, and then enter. So again, we're going to stay on this new indent scale for the if statement, not for anything else. So now we're going to say if that happens, then we want you to own dot apply movement. Okay, and this is where we decide how much we want to apply. So in Blender, Y is our front face. Now if you're used to Unity, you're used to y being going up, but it's not like that in Blender. In Blender, y is always preferred to be the front face, and x is like right and left, and z is up and down. Okay, so we're going to say 0 for the x because we're not going to go anywhere on the x. We're going to say like 0.2 for the y because we're going to go forward, and then 0 for the up and down. Okay, so let's just copy this right here, and then let's just paste it a bunch of times because I'm lazy. There we go. So now we got 4. So let's change this to W S A D. Okay, and for the S, we're going to be moving negatively. So you just put a negative 0.2 there. And obviously this just means which key we're going to be using. And then for this, our Y is going to be 0 because we're not going anywhere on a Y for the A. So A is going to be moving left. So right here, the first number is X. So it goes X, Y, Z. That's easy to remember. And X is left and right. And A is going to be, well, let's check this out. Okay, so let's go into here. And with our Y facing this way, so this is our front face, X is going to the right. So that means A, if we're going to the left, is going to be a negative value of, a negative value of X. So let's just go back into our Python and say negative 0.2 on the X and positive 0.2 on the X for the D key. Let's just save this one more time. Now let's go into our Blender. So if you were writing that all out, don't do what I'm about to show you. But if you were writing it out in the idle, if you're writing out in Blender, you're okay. But if you're writing it out in idle, go to text, and then first of all, I'm going to delete this one. Don't delete it if you were using it. Just name it to player movement.py. Py is for the Python, so it knows what kind of code it's using. I'm just going to unlink this because I'm not going to be using it. People who wrote in Blender do not unlink it. So go to text and not create, but open text block. Then I'm going to go to where you have your script. So I have mine in Python script, and then open it up. So I'm going to double click on player action, and now you see that we have it right here. So now we can use it over and over again. So right here in our player, let's go to Python, our Python script, and let's tell it to use the player action Python script. Okay, and you'll see that right here it's automatically named to what we named our file. So after we have our Python thing, go to always, because we always want it to be running this Python script. Select these 3 dots and then connect them. This sets a frequency. If you have it like that, it'll do it like one time, and it's just not going to work well. But when you have 3, it sets a frequency. So when it's at a frequency of 0, that's the fastest. If it was like at a frequency of 100, it would count up to 100 and then do it. So it would always be counting up to 100 and then completing the action. So you'll see now that if we press P to play, that nothing happens. Now I think I know why, but just in case I am wrong, let's go into the console. And yeah, get current controller. Okay, so we have a problem with this. So the reason why there's a problem is because we misspelled, well, I misspelled controller. So if you don't have that problem, you're good. I'm going to go back into my script and I'm going to spell it the right way and then save it again. See if we have any more spelling errors. We shouldn't. Nope. Okay. Now we can press P, and we have another problem. Apply movement. See, it says that it only takes 2. Oh, okay. So I'll tell you what's happening. What this is we need to put parentheses around these numbers. So like 2 parentheses. Let's go back into our script and do that. Okay. So let's just add those 2 parentheses, and the reason why is because there's more than one thing we need to add here. We need to add a comma after that, and then add true. So let me explain what that means. This true means, is it local or global? If we say true, that means it is global. If it's false, then it's not global. And no, I mean is local for true, not local. So right here, you'll see that we have our y and our x. But if we come down here to global and we change it to local, it'll still be the same. But if we turn it like that, you'll see that our z is now going up that way. So that's what that is. That is our local. And if we change this back to global, it's talking about this grid right here. So it's going to be following these grid lines and not our own boxes grid, our own cubes grid, our own players grid, or whatever you want to call it. So now you'll see that the z is like that. So we have to enable local so that even if it's facing so let's just I'm just going to press Alt R to clear that, so that even if it's facing like backwards, so RZ 180, don't know what that was, so even if it's facing backwards, it's still going to be going forwards when we press W. So let's just change that back to global, and let's write that out for this. So it has to be true. So let's put these 2 commas in, or these 2 parentheses, and true. Okay. Comma, true. And remember to put these in parentheses and then add a comma, because this right here is kind of like one parameter. And I'll explain that in a second. But let's just add it to this last one. So comma, true. So oh, what was that? True. Okay, so I'll explain a parameter now. So you'll see right here where we made our main function and we called it main, and then we called it. So we told it what to do. So what this means is what's right here is that if we told it that we need something, so we need something to happen inside our function, right? And in order for that to happen, we don't want it to have only one variable, okay? We don't want it to have one variable. We want it to be able to have that we can choose what it is, okay? So it's not stuck to one thing. If that doesn't make sense, it's okay. It will. Pretty much what it means is that we can decide what to do with it. So this is a function right here. This is calling a function. And you'll see in here that this is empty, and that means that we don't need to tell it to do anything. Whatever's happening in here, we don't need another parameter because this is just the main function. But right here, this is also its own function. It's in our owner. It's in the Blender game engine. Oh, sorry about that. That was weird. Anyways, so what this is we don't need anything in here, right? But this is a function itself. So it if you would go into the deep code of the Blender game engine and look at wherever the person made this, you'll see that they're asking for us to put something in here to tell the function what to do. So it's kind of like if you had a person, right? And you gave him a set of instructions to do something. And so he would go do that. But you have another person and you gave him a set of instructions, and in those instructions you said that wait, like do what you need to do, but when you get to this part right here, come ask me and I'll tell you what I want you to come ask me and I'll tell you what I want you to do, you know, based on what's happening. So based on what's happening in here, we're going to be telling this function to do this. Okay, so we're telling it to apply the movement, and then we're going to then we're also telling it to set it equal to true. So that's what that is. I hope you understood that. But let's just save that. Okay, I'm going to copy this, I'm gonna go back into Blender, paste it right there, and now press P. You'll see that our character is moving. Let me make it look more natural. There we go. So you'll see if I go into top view, I'm pressing W, S, A, D. So that is how you do that. That is how you make a moving player. Now it's pretty cool. Mine looks glitchy, a little glitchy because of the screen recorder. But all in all, it is really good and it's working well. But you'll see that if we press A and W at the same time, he'll go diagonally. That's really good. But if you do it without Python, it won't do that. It'll either go right or up. Now you'll see how we only have 2 blocks here. So let me exit that out. We have 2 logic blocks right here. Okay. But if we were doing it without Python, like with only logic blocks, we'd have to have 4 for that. We'd have to have 4 for the WASD. Then we'd have to have 1 for if we were pressing W and A. Then we'd have another one for if we were pressing W and D. Another one if we were pressing SA. Another one if we were pressing SD. One if we were pressing jump. One if we were pressing W and jump, D and jump, W, D and jump. It just makes it too complicated. With this, if we want to put a jump in here, we only need 3 instead of 2,000. Okay? And all we did was we wrote a few lines of codes that will be easy to memorize if you just stick to it. And that's all I have for this tutorial. Go check out my friend Arsenal RSL. He's got some sweet tutorials on how to use Python also. But if you want to learn that, go to check out my playlist on how to use it in Blender. Okay? So, see you later. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.